We've just picked up this. It's a Winton. It was built in 1900. That's 3 years before the Wright brothers' first powered flight. That's pretty amazing. Alexander Winton was a Scottish engineer specialising in steam who then moved over to America and started building these in Cleveland in Ohio. The Winton 8 HP was one of the most popular cars of its time over in America. This is the 9 HP version, the sporty one. So they made a lot fewer, and apart from this one, I've heard rumours of one in America, potentially in a museum, but I can't find any evidence of it online. My challenge is to make this work again, because if I get this on the road, it's not only potentially the only one existing, but it's also the only one working. That's pretty special. Now let's have a look and see what we've got. Up front we've got this gorgeous set of paraffin lamps. They weren't much good at seeing the road ahead, but it meant that people could see you, which was really important when people are only used to horses. Now these are the controls. You've got a tiller rather than a steering wheel. Everyone's got a steering wheel these days. Got a couple of levers. You've got a pedal. And you've got a button, which is quite intriguing. You've also got a funny little knob over here. There's obviously no gauges on the dashboard. Who needs to know how fast you're going? Don't think it's going to go that fast anyway. Now this is the starting handle. It's got a lovely ratchet mechanism on it, just to give you another bite, and it does actually turn over. Not the best angle to do this. You can hear things whirring. It's easiest to see the suspension on the back here, obviously 2 sets of leaf springs, and that's on each corner. Now this is getting to the nitty gritty. It's all wooden bodywork, and to access the engine you lift off this hatch. Now it looks pretty alien to modern eyes, but you've got the radiator here. There's a scoop underneath that sort of sends the air up through these pipes. Then you've got the inlet manifold, a fuel tank, that's an oil can, and an absolutely massive flywheel that's over 300 kilos in weight. This is just the water pump here, and then the actual cylinder block, just one cylinder, is there. Nice square chunk of metal. Now there's lots that I can immediately see that I want to improve here. If you look at this wiring, it's got lovely crimp-on connectors, not hugely period. Now the wiring on these things was fairly rudimentary anyway, but those little plastic things don't really sit with me. Now if I have a look in this box, now you've got 3 batteries here. If I pull one out, yeah, there's 6-volt batteries. I presume you can just swap between them to keep it going when one goes flat, if it hasn't got a generator of some sort. And 2 Model T Ford trembler coils. Now, because it's only 1 cylinder, I'm guessing one of these is a spare. But these work by, when electricity is passed into them, then they create an electromagnet that pulls the points apart. Obviously, that electromagnet then de-energizes and the points close up again, and that cycle repeats. That then generates, say, an electromagnetic field to go onto another coil that creates a high enough voltage to create the spark. And if I look down here, there's all this wiring, but there is actually a spark plug down there, which isn't very period, but a lot of cars of this time have been converted to use spark plugs just because it's much safer and more reliable than the period alternatives. Now that strange knob that we found at the front, well, that rotates this shaft that's got a gear on it, and then there's another gear down here that there's obviously a chain missing. That seems to be a valve on the fuel line from what I can see, because it goes down to the carburettor. Now I've been reading about these carburettors. That's a whole other story. I think I'm going to be taking it apart and giving it a good clean up, so we can investigate that later, but it's not like anything you've seen. So that knob cuts off the fuel, or potentially it changes the amount of fuel there is flowing through the system. We'll see. Something to investigate. So we're back up to the top here. We've got the water pump here, air intake manifold, the massive flywheel, and then this cylinder. Now if I have a look in here, quite a lot of screwing to do there. You can see it nicely says Winton embossed in there. Now that's full of oil, so that must be to provide the main cylinder with oil, because it hasn't got a sump like a modern car, and they're total loss oil systems on these. Again, something to investigate. Now on the fuel tank, not only got the fuel filler, but we've got this. And if I look really carefully, it says empty here and full there, a little spike. So I'm guessing we're missing a dial off here, an arrow or something. But it doesn't look like I can remove it. There's a couple of screws there. We'll have to get the endoscope down and have a look, but I'm assuming that's there. So I hope that if I just put an arrow on that, it will work and we'll have some indication of the amount of fuel that we've got. But I guess we'll find out. Now, this is where it starts getting really fun, because if you have a pier under this hatch, again, nice chunky wooden hatch to match the coach-built bodywork, proper coach-built bodywork. Oh, this metalwork malarkey. You'll see we have something that looks like it's fallen off a steam train. A huge piston that's actually an air pump. Now, we'll go through this later, but I've been poking through the patents, because Mr. Winton came out with about 100 patents at least for automotive things. And this is one of his patents. There's a diagram that looks basically exactly the same as this. And it is an air pump. So we'll find out about that later. Now if I pull the seat base out, which is quite a tight fit, you can obviously see this is very original leather, and some of this is a bit newer, but that's quite a weight just on the seat base alone. And there's two hatches, very intriguing. Immediately the flywheel strikes you. Now onto this first hatch, you've got this intriguing little box up here in there. That must be the oiling system. And we've got a pool of oil on the right hand side there, looking very shiny and oily, and lots of wicks with different amounts and different causes for each wicking area. I can only assume that there's pipes that come off the bottom of that scurry away to different bits of the engine. Something else to learn. Now what's under this hatch? So this is basically the crankcase. It's very open with just this light tin cover on it. Now this is starting to get really fun. You can see the huge chain down there. That's the main drivetrain that goes to the back axle. And then this is a huge cast iron lid for the gearbox. You can see the gearbox lid. How's that for a piece of engineering? Just to keep the muck out. Now looking into the gearbox, you can see the various arms and things that move when you push and pull on these control sticks. Now I know that this car at the moment is incredibly hard to push around, far harder than it should be. And these collets here that get moved by the control sticks obviously push on different arms. Now this uses a pre-mesh gearbox, so when you change gear you don't actually move the gears, you're pulling clutches in and out. So I think that these rings here are supposed to push those arms out to engage the clutch. But this car's been sitting around for a very, very long time, and I can see a tiny bit of movement on some of those arms when I push and pull it into gear, but they're not actually moving, and I really don't want to force it and bend something. So I think, yeah, I think this is going to need pulling out, cleaning up, and then seeing, while it's out, seeing how easy the car is to move then. But that's quite a job, and I don't think I'm going to find a Haynes manual for this. So we've got a lot of learning to do. Okay, so we're getting underneath now. Thankfully the cars of this period are quite high because the roads weren't as smooth as they are these days. Got that huge drivetrain again going onto a differential. Then you've got this mechanism here that must be the foot pedal operating a brake directly on the diff there. Then a little bit further under, this is the, we'll call it a carburettor. This is how the fuel is vaporised. Yep, something to explore later. Now this is quite an obvious problem. We seem to have a broken linkage here. This is going to the bottom of the differential housing. It's quite thin. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but that obviously needs welding back to, I can work out the camera, welding back to there. That's a ring with a bolt, so I need to see if I can remove this at all. I wonder where it's attached at the front. But I need to basically remove this or pull it down to either replace or hopefully just weld this joint on. Needless to say, spares aren't exactly easily available for this, so I'll probably have to get something made that does this, unless it's shared on another vehicle, or just see if I can repair what's there already. Now this is the bottom of the gearbox. As you can see, it's got a nice little tap here to drain all the oil out of it. There's also another one on the bottom of the crankcase, if I can steer the phone correctly. That's interesting. And this is the bottom of the radiator. See, it's got these pipes protruding. Try and get some parallax on that. And if I can pull the camera back far enough, you can just see this scoop. So it scoops the air into those tubes as you're going along to provide cooling. Now there's quite a framework. Let's just go a bit wider on this camera. There's quite a framework here providing some triangulation to the chassis. It's all very alien, but quite interesting. Now I'm underneath the foot area now, where you put your feet, and this is the underside of that button by the driver's right foot. You can see it comes to a bit of pipe work with a little handy valve, and that pipe work tracks all the way back. A bit hard to follow being dark, and I can't slide backwards and forwards that easily under here, but that goes all the way back to the top of the engine cylinder. Just noticed just here, hiding away, there's a bell as well. So couldn't see any way to activate that from the top, so I'll have to work that out. I might have a look at that now. There's lots of lovely linkages that have all been wire locked, which is obviously very nice to see, because although these cars were known to be very smooth, that's very smooth for 1900, not for 2026. Just looking at the exhaust pipe for a second, that's quite interesting because that's the inlet manifold and that's the exhaust. So the inlet comes to this cylinder that's around the exhaust pipe, and the exhaust pipe comes forward on the car, and the inlet seems to come to a pipe that's actually open at the end, so that's where the inlet goes, and then it looks like it heats the air going in, which is very alien to modern eyes. And then the exhaust goes all the way here and down there. So to give you some context, there's the exhaust pipe, there's the flat plate, and there's the feet area of the passenger. So that's pointing down at the ground. I would imagine that's going to be quite loud. The engine is supposedly about 2.7 litres, I think, on a single cylinder. And that's basically a straight pipe down to the ground. Now, just thinking about that bell, and under the floor there. I found this hole. I wonder what happens if I... Well, that works. I just need to find a 1900 bell knob. Oh, one thing I forgot to show you was this. If I just bring the steering down, this is inside the dashboard. And there's lots of goodies here. So we've got some spare paint, nice little shelf here, fire extinguisher, which hopefully we won't need, and some pots of gloop. It's all going to be very interesting. Aha, and a nice little detail I've just found. The plaque from when it did the London to Brighton run in 1998, the only time it's actually done the London to Brighton run. I wonder if we'll add another one this year. So there you are, that's a quick look around this 1900 Winton 9HP. Potentially the only one in the world, but Tom Parrott's challenged me to get this back on the road, so then it will be the only one on the road in the world. That's quite a challenge. I mean, it's really hard to push, so there's something going on there, possibly related to the gearbox, which I think I'm going to end up having to pull out and clean up fully, and hopefully that will free things up. We'll find out. And there's various other things I want to do to restore it, put it back to a bit more how it was, and just make it all a bit better. I need to do this by November to do the famous London to Brighton Veteran Vehicle Run, the oldest motoring event in the world. Will I get it done? I'll give it a shot, but like and subscribe to find out.